Hey, it's Will with a quick note. I'm introducing a new feature. I want you to give me feedback on this episode. It's a call in text in feature. More information is in the description. If you have some thoughts on this episode, this podcast in general, let me know. We walked down to 59th Street yesterday, 59th and 6th to be specific. There's a statue of Venezuelan Simón Bolívar. It's an imposing statue, given all the stuff in the news today about Maduro and Venezuela and oil. I thought it'd be neat to revisit that connection between Venezuela and Latin America in general in New York City. So Simón Bolívar was a citizen of Caracas, Venezuela. This is a period where Spain conquered and ran most of Latin America. And growing up, Simón had this idea that he wanted to be free of Spanish rule. He wanted to unify the Latin American countries, Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela. So he traveled a bit when he was younger, met his wife, came back to Venezuela, and dedicated himself to that mission. Free Venezuela of Spanish rule, and then begin uniting those Latin American countries under one direction. So on that 59th Street and 6th Avenue intersection inside Central Park, I think there's 3 statues. I mean, pretty imposing statues. The one of Simón is in the park a little bit more, and it is an imposing statue of him in his armed gear on top of a horse. Yeah, pretty impressive. He was known as the Liberator, and if I remember right, Bolivia was named after him. So, like 200, 300 years ago, there was this challenge in Venezuela of imposing rulers in countries, imposing their will on the country, which, given today's news, it seems pretty similar. I don't know who the Simón Bolívar of our time is. It's just always interesting to think of the seemingly far away activities happening in, these different countries in different circumstances. Yet you walk down the street in New York City in Central Park, and there's a statue honoring somebody like Simón Bolívar, a Venezuelan, and somebody who struggled and led the rule of other countries on his own homeland. And that challenge of unifying different countries under a single Latin America country is pretty similar to what some of the leadership challenges that are happening today in business and politics, whatever it may be. It's just that sometimes the roles are flipped. It seems like during that period of land exploration that some of these larger countries decided to annex or conquer some of these smaller countries for resources, positional land, especially as like shipping was the major way to connect commerce across different countries. And here we are today in 2026. We're talking about the same things, right? The United States going after Greenland, looking at taking Greenland because we need it from a positional perspective. I should say the United States taking over Greenland, going after Venezuela, likely for oil, the thought of regime change, going after Iran, more regime change, more oil. You think of a city like New York with a mayor like Mamdani, right? You can make the argument that he's doing the same thing, right? Except for in his case, he's going after affordability, less land grab, less, probably more focused on resources. How do you make New York City affordable to all New Yorkers? So thinking of this idea of taking shape, I mean, outside of the killings of fishermen taking over of oil boats, I think that story is pretty well told. It's pretty well shaped. The United States wants to go in and own all the oil and gold it can, all the resources it can from Venezuela. I might have said this previously. I'm super interested that no oil company spokespersons come out and said, yeah, we're going to go do that. You saw that a lot with technology infrastructure in the United States, right? They had, where was it at? Was it Ohio or Minneapolis? Where I think China was going to build a big data center and employ thousands of Americans. Right, and I think you saw those executives of those tech companies welcoming that investment. Yeah, build data centers here. I think even money was spent, shovels in the ground. I don't I don't hear that, and I don't see that for Venezuela and oil companies. Yeah, I think one other follow up was on Liverpool after their game with Arsenal. I suggested that that was a good result, a positive result, given everything that Liverpool's been through. I mean, by and large, after reading some of the news and watching some of the clips, generally that's been the story. I think I even heard the guys from Men in Blazers call it a win draw. So the other thing I think I saw was after the Liverpool game, there's a lot of pressure on Arsenal players, especially their strikers, which I will say is hugely fascinating given the pressure and stories put on Liverpool strikers this year. Yet I haven't really seen anything in the news talking about Liverpool strikers either from that game, that Arsenal game, or just in general. It seems like that's all died away. If there's anything that's come out that's been positive about Mo Salah at AFCON for Egypt, I think today will be that next step in that journey. I think there was one upset with Crystal Palace losing Macclesfield, I think. Normally you don't see a Premier Club out at this point. So Liverpool plays at home to Barnsley today. That'll just be the next chapter in this year's story. We heard the awful news that Connor Bradley's out for the season. So certainly more news to come out of that as far as team shape. Hey, it's Will again. Thanks for listening to this episode. Any feedback or comments? More information in the description. Thanks again for listening.